Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. A few weeks ago, I was invited to go and pray with a family that had moved into a new home. It was a great event. We went, there was a few of us there present from the church, and we had great fun, great food, great fellowship. We prayed for the new home. It was a great evening all around, to be honest. And I felt led when I was praying for the new home to talk from Exodus chapter 33, where God spoke to Israel after the golden calf incident. And he says this: "Leave this place, you and the people you brought up out of Egypt, and go up to the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I will send an angel before you and drive out the Canaanites, Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Go up to the land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go with you because you are a stiff-necked people, and I might destroy you on the way." Now, on the face of it, this looked like a great deal that God is offering them. He's saying, look, I'm not going to go with you into the promised land, but I'm going to make the way clear for you. I'll send an angel before you that will drive out all those other tribes that are living there, so you won't have to fight any battles against them or anything. You'll just walk into an empty land flowing with milk and honey, and you can possess it. I'm going to keep the promise that I made to Abraham to bring you back into this land flowing with milk and honey. And yet Moses said, "No, Lord, unless you go with you, we don't want to go." Because Moses realized something here, that the presence of God is much more important than the land flowing with milk and honey. So often we want our environment to change. We want to be in a better place. We want to live in a better house. We want to have a better job. We want the country to have a better economy. We want there to be a better government. We want to be in a different church. We want to change our environment. If we're single, we want to be married, and sometimes people who are married want to be single. We want to change our environment. But far more important than changing our environment is allowing the Lord to change our hearts. And this change of our hearts by the Lord requires His presence. It's not an overnight thing. It is a process. God changes our hearts and makes us more like Jesus, and that changes our walk before Him. It's not enough to change our environment. We have to allow God to change our hearts. You know, one thing that Moses discovered was that taking the people out of slavery was easier than taking the slavery out of the people. God brought plagues on the Egyptians. God opened the way up. God parted the Red Sea, and the people were out of slavery. And yet so many of the problems that we see happening in the wilderness were caused by the fact that they were still thinking like slaves. God had brought the people out of slavery, but the slavery hadn't gotten out of the people. And so there had to be a transformation within their hearts. We see this in modern times whenever there are areas in many countries of slums where there's dreadful living conditions, and often people's behavior matches the dreadful living conditions. And sometimes what countries and cities have done is move people out of the slum and rebuild and build some really nice housing, or better housing anyway, and then move the people back into the new housing, and all the old social problems still continue. Because sometimes it's easier to bring the people out of the slum than it is to get the slum out of the people. And so we need more than a change of environment. And of course, I was sharing all of this in the context of somebody moving into a new home, into a great new environment. But my message was, thank God for the new environment, but let's pursue more than the new environment. Let's pursue the continual presence of God in this home and in your hearts. And I pray that's what each one of us will be seeking as well. It's great when God changes our environment, but let's concentrate on God changing our hearts in Jesus' name. God bless you. Join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.